All right, we are back, guys. Thank you very much for hanging with us. Holy smokes, we did it. We landed the plane, we got home. No technical difficulties today, Jason.
It's been a long day, though.
I can feel it in my voice. I'm starting to go a little bit hoarse. It's been a long day of great conversations with some of our executives and team members here at NetApp, joining us for this inaugural episode of Insight Plus, coming to you live from the O2 Intercontinental here in London. What are your takeaways? I want to ask, I have a bunch of questions we're going to talk about here in our sort of wrap-up segment. What are your takeaways in the differences between doing a larger Insight event for EMEA in Barcelona at FIRA, where we would normally do it, versus how we're breaking things up this year? I mean, we started in December with Tokyo, and this is the EMEA side of things, obviously, but we're going to be doing, we did London today, we're going to have Paris and Berlin at the end of March.
Yep.
And all kinds of, we've had Moscow as well, so breaking things up like this in a more intimate regional feel, what's your take? How do you think that is received well? Do you prefer the larger events? Where do you stand on this?
I wasn't sold to start with.
Okay.
Let's put it that way, right?
That's fair.
When we first heard about this last year, we're wrapping up in Barcelona, and we heard about this, and I wasn't sold. I didn't know whether there was going to be the audience, whether we'd be able to pull it off, but honestly, I'm a convert, right?
Nice.
I've loved this so far. So there's a lot of things that stand out to me for this, right? One, not everybody has the budget to travel to Vegas, to Berlin, to some of the other places we've been. A lot of companies have also got, green initiatives. They're trying to cut down on air travel.
Yeah.
And if we're trying to move 6,000, 7,000 people, 8,000 people to one city, as opposed to maybe a team of a few hundred to multiple cities, we're doing a good job, right?
Yeah.
Also, we can do more regional content like this, right? So when we get around to Berlin, I expect there to be a lot of metro cluster content, right?
Oh,
they're a traditional, huge metro cluster consumer.
Yeah.
We can tailor the messaging. And we can also bring out more updates throughout the year. So, normally you have two insights, they're fairly close together, and they're kind of around the same big thing. But as we're spacing these out throughout the year, we can bring incremental news updates along with us.
That's a really great point. I never really thought about it that way. It seemed more of a logistics thing to me on the surface, but the more I've thought about it, I agree. I'm a convert as well. Not only do you get to deal with local folks that have real problems that are right here and you can talk to them and introduce all of our partners and sponsors behind us to all of these sort of local folks that are here to solve problems and have outcomes. But you get to do that in different cities. I want to give a big hat tip to Microsoft for what they do with the Ignite the Tour program, where they literally go city to city around the world and do miniature versions of Ignite all throughout the year. And I feel like that's the closest thing I've got that I can compare this to, just on a much smaller scale than what they're doing. With that thing.
Even though we've also got the AWS Summit. So I did that a few weeks after Ignite Tour last year, and I thought the Ignite Tour, which is kind of across the river in the Excel Center, right? I thought Ignite on tour was big. Then I went to the AWS Summit, and there are 12,000 people trying to get lunch. I'm fairly introverted, and I was like, whew. I need a quiet space.
Yes.
So, these regional events seem to be a really good format that's coming along from a lot of people. And I think actually the fact that we had some local representation here from Alex, also from the local customers as well, I think it resonates. It's a really legitimate story that kind of comes home to people. It's like we're all doing the same thing. We're trying to solve the same problems. And a lot of companies and a lot of business around the world often have a US-centric view.
Sure.
So it's really refreshing to see a more, globalized view on the market.
Yeah, I like that too, and that's one of my favorite things about the Broken Up events is, yes, we did get to sit down with Alex, with Matt Watts, other local customers like King's College.
Yeah.
You brought it was a fantastic example there. AZ as
yeah.
well. So yeah, it's great to have that. There's a lot of benefits to it, and I don't see a consequence. I don't think I'm missing anything. By not trying to cram everybody all into the same place at one time. I don't feel like we're missing out on anything in particular.
No, I don't think there's anything missing, and I also think there's only opportunity to grow this.
Yeah.
This might become a 2-day event next year.
Maybe.
Who knows? We might have an extra 30 breakout sessions. We don't know, but we're not losing anything. There's no, I don't feel any loss of quality here.
No.
The conversations have been the same.
In fact, it's better because it's a little more intimate as well, right?
Yeah, I don't see a downside to this. I think this is a good format.
Well done, events team. Well done. Good job.
Yeah.
And it served as a great little venue. So please send us your feedback, guys. We would love to hear what you thought about the production here. We are piloting this here, and would absolutely love to hear what you guys think about that. So leave them in the chat right here on YouTube, or send them in to NetApp via the various social channels that we have. We'd love to hear your feedback on what you guys thought of the stream throughout the day today. Anything else that we want to cover? Like, I want to have some fun. I want to ask some of these questions to you that I was asking people throughout the day, if you don't mind.
No, that's fine.
We've talked about various pieces of security and GDPR and things like that. We've talked about how companies have evolved in this new era of the cloud. But I don't think the one thing I didn't ask you yet was the fun question.
Is it related to Brexit?
Not at all.
Okay, good.
It's the end of the day. We're going to have some fun here. Jason, tell me your one piece of technology, crazy technology, that you think is going to come out in the next 10 years.
Oh, God.
I'm putting you on the spot.
You are.
I'll tell you mine.
Go on then.
And then you can have a moment to think about it. I want the Matrix. I want to be able to jack in and learn a skill or a language.
Just like that.
I know Kung Fu.
So,
Whoa.
I think that's really cool, and mine might lead to that.
Yeah.
I really want to see an emergence of generic general AI, and artificial superintelligence. I really want to see that.
You want Skynet?
Not to this sort of killing extent.
Sure. Okay, fine. Sure.
I do think that
Google and DeepMind aren't helping by teaching Google Brains to play StarCraft.
I mean, yeah, that's a really great project,
have
right?
you not seen War Games? that doesn't end well.
But I think there are a lot of things that would benefit humankind to take some of our emotional elements out of the decision-making process.
Yeah.
So, there are some things that, I don't want to get political or anything else, but there are some decision-making processes that would probably be better suited to machines.
Yeah.
So I'd like to see more of that. However, it does lead me on to something I'm quite passionate about, and that's a discussion on digital ethics, right?
Oh, yeah.
So we have to be very careful with who we allow to do these things.
This gets down to coding.
It does, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And who would have ever thought that there's ethics to writing software?
Well, we all have human bias. We all are the things that we've done in our lives, the things that have happened and shaped us, end up becoming an unconscious bias in your code. Machine learning algorithms, and there was a study recently where they were using it in the US for sentencing. And just because of historical norms, the algorithm, unfortunately, favored sentencing certain races and types of people higher than others. But that wasn't anything to do, it wasn't a conscious bias. Nobody did this. It was just, it looked at historical data, and the historical data was already skewed.
Wow.
So
based on prior convictions and things like that,
that's right? Yeah. So it was already skewed because of, the system, and somebody's trying there, but we have to have checks and balances.
Yeah.
When it comes to those sorts of things, we need to, there needs to be responsibility, and that comes down to all of us as technologists to be responsible with what we're developing going forward.
Yeah, that's a great point. I hear it come up every now and then, and it seems to be a recurring thing that continues to come up after a while is ethics in code.
Yeah.
And I read stuff about that constantly, and the more diversified and inclusive we become as an industry, especially around software development and coding, I think it's going to be a big deal.
Yeah,
for sure.
absolutely.
It's going to become one of those core tenets. But if we have machines writing code, like, they're going to be completely agnostic in their approach to it, and maybe that sheds some light on our own, inherent faults as human beings.
Maybe.
Yancey said he just wants self-flying airplanes.
Yeah, we kind of have those with UAVs.
Kind of, but it's funny that we're also talking about ethics, because the U.S. Air Force has intentionally said there will never not be a human being at the controls of one of those things. Even remotely, there's a human sitting in a base piloting it remotely, right, via satellite.
Xbox controllers.
Sure, it's not. It's really not Xbox controller. It would probably work, but what do you think about allowing, that's where it gets scary with machines when we talk about teaching DeepMind to play StarCraft, right? If there was not a human being there to make a decision about collateral damage, how would a machine weigh up the value of innocent life?
This is really interesting.
We're getting into
right?
that
so
AI gray area now.
minecart situation, right? So
Yeah.
there's a person on the track. What do you do?
Yeah.
And this is something that actually I've spoken to about, and it came in. I think it was in an episode of the Black Mirror and things like that, right?
Yeah.
So computers can do things a hell of a lot quicker than us.
Sure.
So we've got self-driving cars. I'm driving. You're in the road. In split second, it can know your health details, my family history, my wealth, your wealth. It can score us, right? It can literally go, well, actually, if I run him over, he could probably sue the manufacturer. That's a bad point, right? Okay, right. This guy, he's ill anyway. He's going to die, right? We'll just crash him into a wall.
Sure.
If we allow it to happen, that's the sort of thing that can. We could all become a number. And
a score.
Yeah, a score.
Even in like Warcraft, we would do things like gear score, right?
Yep.
Or do we become a gear score as human beings? Like, is it going to get to the point where we were talking to Scott from AstraZeneca, and his was he thinks nanotechnology is going to become the big thing in the next 10 years when it comes to dealing with DNA and things like that, gene sequencing and whatnot.
Oh, but does then that become the race to who has the most money to buy the most nanotechnology to become the best humans? And
it always comes down to money. It really does.
Unfortunately, it does, and that's. Yeah.
And again, that's where the ethics come into play with a lot of this stuff.
Indeed.
So, let's see, what else have I got to? So, you want to see self-driving machine or self?
No, I just want to see a super intelligence, a general
super intelligence. What is it?
Right. So we have very specific AI, and we're very good at doing that right now. But I think
we're figuring out inferencing and learning. Like we've got that down.
Yeah, we have got that bit down.
Now
I'm thinking more, right? How do we actually get to the levels of TV and film AI?
Cognitive.
Yeah. Benevolence.
Thought. Benevolence. That's a good word. Yeah. With all of that in mind, should every business that's out there operating today consider themselves a security company?
Oh, absolutely.
Everybody has data now.
Yeah,
right?
Everybody's got data. Everybody's got devices of some description. I mean, from my cable TV service having a wireless mesh built into it, from the Alexas and the other,
Google Home.
Yeah, Google Home. I'm sorry if we've really
Apple
at home.
HomePod.
I'm just wondering about all the poor people I'd said Alexa to, and theirs have just popped up on the other end of the screen. Yeah. Sorry about that, guys. And that happens a lot in our house. But yeah, with all of these devices, Sonos speakers, everything else, right? There are more and more entry points to everything.
Our lives.
Yeah, our lives and our data and all of those things. I think, everybody's got a responsibility. And it's not just about securing my data or anything else. It's like not becoming an entry point for somebody else to hijack the IoT and use it as a botnet or those sorts of things. And the other thing, actually, I don't know if you saw in the news recently, but there was the TravelX ransomware or similar attack. They had a problem.
I don't think I saw that.
So TravelX have been down, or they had some problems where they've been down for a few weeks.
Okay.
They shaved off something like 50% of the company's value in that time, off of the stock market. And
wow.
I saw some statistics that the owner, the CEO, he holds like a 63% stake in the company.
Sure.
He lost over $850 million in that period. Now, security, right? Security's changing everything. We need to code for security. We need to build. We shouldn't be building devices, especially not IoT devices, that have default usernames and passwords that just come with, you don't change it when you first turn it on.
Yeah.
Or the other kind of issues with unpatched firmware and
sure.
Everybody needs to be security first.
There's certain things. So you mentioned passwords, and I have one of my things that I also put on that list of things that we hope we see in the next 10 years, crazy things, is I hope passwords go away.
I would love to see more biometrics or more one-time access. I see
LastPass doing it. I see Apple trying to do it with the strong password where they'll save it for you in your keychain. I don't see a way out of doing that, but I really would love to see innovation along the lines of getting passwords to go away. There's entire lines of work and business around supporting people resetting passwords.
Yeah.
And it's one of the most frustrating things. I tried to open a spreadsheet on my iPad here that I had never connected, but I had to go through a username and password, and then a patch had to download, and then I had to get sent a text.
One-time access code.
A 2FA access code, and then I had to re-authenticate again, and then I had to do it again, and just to open a spreadsheet. That's a bit much.
It is.
And I love 2FA. I think everybody should do it on everything they have. It would eliminate accounts getting hijacked. But I also look at this as there's a certain level of access that we give applications and things by default. If I think about social media, where it scares me is that if we do away with passwords, we're still giving social media applications access to our microphone.
Very true.
Right? So in the instance of security, while they're not asking us for our password, they just ask us for permission for our microphone. Well, why would they do that? Well, I found out the hard way recently, and I thought I'd share this little fun story. So there was something that I was talking about at home that I have never searched for in my entire life, that I had never talked about with anyone else in my entire life, and within 10 minutes it showed up on my social media feed in a sponsored post. And I know how it all works. I totally understand why. What I didn't realize is that your social media applications are listening to you.
I completely agree, and we've had a similar incident at home. Petra and I were talking about weighted blankets.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And 10 minutes later, oh, why is that suggested? And similar thing when we found out we were having a baby. All of a sudden, baby adverts everywhere we go. We hadn't searched for any of that. We just sat down and had a conversation in the front room.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a scary world.
Technology. So the plan is, I want to spend the last few minutes talking about what the plan is for this stream, this channel. Look, we've got an opportunity here. We want to take our NetApp YouTube channel and make it a lot more interactive, a lot more young, hip, bring it into the modern era as well as some of the stuff that we've also been doing, such as our wonderful customer studies, marketing videos, things like that. I want to begin to bring in some more technical stuff as well, but we're looking at, I've started the Twitch channel over on YouTube, which you've been a big part of and helped with, and I also want to do some of that for NetApp over on their own Twitch channel. So there's a litany of things that I'd love for you guys to follow. Jason is doing an awesome giveaway for a Stream Deck. If you don't know what that is, Google it, Elgato Stream Deck. It's basically a tool to do automation, whether you want to do some live streaming stuff or whether you just want to automate macros with the push of a button to do just about anything, really.
Yeah, pretty
much. You can use it to create a volume in Azure NetApp Files if you want to. Kirk Ryan, who we talked to earlier today, has done that. So we've got stuff out there for that. But yeah, if you want to see Jason's giveaway, get signed up for it. You can go follow all of our social channels or just find his blog post, thedatacenterbrit.co.uk, right?
That's correct, yeah.
That's it. All right. So make sure you get into the Gleam giveaway, and that'll send you to almost all of the social channels that I'm going to tell you about right now. So this one first and foremost that you're watching right now, youtube.com/NetApp. Make sure you're subscribed right here. We are going to be doing more live streams as we go throughout the year, all culminating in Las Vegas in October later this year for our big Insight event where we will have hopefully a much bigger show for you, but we'll find out more as we go throughout the year. We are going to be in Berlin at the end of March, but not 100% on Paris. So to be determined for right now, but stay tuned. Make sure you also head over to twitch.tv/NetApp and follow that channel there. We're going to be doing some more content along the lines of what I've been doing on the Data Center Dude Twitch channel, which is twitch.tv/DataCenterDude. All of these you want to make sure you're following because we're going to start doing some various content, both technical and sort of vision strategic, like these live streams and interviews and events and things like that with the NetApp brands across all of these different various channels. But how have you enjoyed what do you think of the Data Center Dude, if I can ask a self-directed question here?
Yeah, go on.
And I want an honest answer. Do you think there's an appetite? We see plenty of software developers on Twitch writing code to an audience.
Yeah.
And when I first started it, I felt left out. I had a little bit of, it's not quite imposter syndrome, but like, where's my infrastructure people? Like, it was that, just that frustrated kind of thing because it's all just people writing code. So I thought, well, okay, I don't really want to do another podcast, but I do want to go out and interact with the audience. How do I do that? Well, Twitch was the answer for me. So what do you think about using Twitch as a way to teach practitioner-style infrastructure practice?
I'm a huge fan.
Yeah?
Yeah, and I have been for a long while. Maybe a year or so ago, I wrote a blog for NetApp on the NetApp.com blog about how do we reach the future generation of technologists.
Yeah.
Right? And I think I was sat watching my nephews. They're playing Fortnite, they're playing Minecraft, whatever else. And they want to know something. They're like, oh, I'm on YouTube, or oh, I'm on Twitch, and I'll do that. They're going to grow up and know that. and that's going to be where the first place they go. They're not going to really go, oh, there'll be a podcast for that, because my nephews don't know what a podcast is.
You can't search
really. No,
a
you
podcast.
can't. No, you can't, right?
Yeah.
So I'm a huge advocate for us using more forms of communication and getting things out there, right? The interaction is perfect. The instant feedback and the nature of that is what makes it, and it's genuine. It's not edited. We know that. You can see there's almost like a glimpse into, you get into the other person's life for a little bit.
Yeah.
And the good thing that we've had in your stream is that talking about your journey over the last few years, it's been you've had some crazy adventures over the last 5 years, but it's that transition that loads of people in our industry are going to be in, and loads of people in the future are going to be in that transition. It might be a different transition, but we're all going to be going somewhere, because this market does everything but stop changing. That's the only thing that stays the same, is it's always changing. Right. So I think it's a really good thing, and like we've said, it just takes a bit of patience, a bit of consistency, but we will get there. And I think all of the big tech giants have bet on a streaming service of some description. So
at this point,
Microsoft have got Mixer, Amazon have got Twitch, and Google have got YouTube, right? Yeah. There's no way that they're not putting that sort of money into it to develop this across their big industries. And, they're the big cloud players, right?
You mean it's not just to watch teenagers play Fortnite?
No. Well, that's a great introduction to what those teenagers will, that's what they're doing now, but they're going to get into their mid-20s and
they're going to have jobs one day.
Yeah, that's right. They're all going to be software engineers, because that's what we're teaching everybody and everything else, right? And then the software engineers will have to go learn and be infrastructure people, because there'll be a reverse transition. And
right. So that's an interesting prediction.
I think it'll happen.
That it's going to come full circle back to we're going to not have any infrastructure folks left.
And then Amazon and Google and all that, they're going to have so many data centers and no engineers to build them anymore.
Oh, man. What happened to the mechanical engineering field? Where have they gone?
How do we do this?
So that's great feedback. Thank you for that. And part of the journey, just so I can share it here with everybody else, was the thing that triggered me to really get that going is I had found myself coming back to NetApp. If you go all the way back to 2013, I was on the NetApp Communities podcast with our CTO at the time, Jay Kidd, and he called me an infrastructure dinosaur.
Wow. In
2013. And I went, nah. There's always going to need to be a computer, a server, or something around. Somebody's always going to need that. Here I am, and I come back to NetApp into the Cloud BU, and I'm finding myself surrounded by software developers that don't know that much about infrastructure. And in a weird way, it was the first time ever in my career that I had directly or indirectly been affected with imposter syndrome. I didn't know how to communicate with these guys. The fun part about this was that they felt the exact same way, just the other way around.
Absolutely.
So once we all talked about that and had an open conversation about it, which was huge, it was like, oh, you can teach me stuff I don't know, and I can teach you stuff you don't know. And it all works. And since then, it has been just peas and carrots. And there was a huge moment there in my, I had serious self-doubt about like my abilities to move forward in tech, because I don't know how to write code. Blatantly honest, right? I know you've made that huge transition. You and Mark talked a lot about that earlier, right?
Yeah, we did.
So it's one of those transitions that I have not, and I don't have the appetite for it, and I don't feel like I have the aptitude for it. If you showed me a YAML file or a piece of code, like I can scroll through a source file from a web page and find what I need, but I couldn't sit down at a blank notepad and just start typing stuff, right? I can do old HTML, but that's about it. Right?
Yeah, it's an interesting transition.
So the idea behind starting the Twitch channel was to solve that problem. Let's go on this grand adventure together. Let's take what is a large majority of our customer base as enterprise infrastructure admins that are dipping their toes ever so lightly in the cloud and in containers and in Kubernetes, right? And let's go on that journey together. I don't really know that much. I know enough to get us started, but I'm going to need some help. Jason's been a great help for me along the way. Several folks have been great helps. All of the NKS engineers are wonderful people to work with, and they've been more than helpful. I mean, for me to do something as silly as Minecraft, right?
It's been a lot of fun, though.
Hey, we're just getting started with that.
And
So,
Cloud World is
hashtag
starting to
Cloud
look,
World.
It's starting to look really good. The logos are out there. We're getting towards like a roller coaster tycoon vibe.
Yeah, that's the idea. So for those of you that might not know, we are doing what I call Cloud World. And the idea is I needed a thick application to refactor into a microservice-based kind of architecture. And I think it was either you or Yan or somebody that said, why not Minecraft? And I was like, actually, that's perfect. It's a big Java app, basically, that runs as a server platform. So we fired up a Windows server in AWS in an EC2 instance, downloaded the Java application and fired it up, and we started building stuff in it because we needed to invest in it so that we cared if we lost everything, right? So we've got backups running on it now, and we're investigating how to do persistent storage spread across multiple pods right now. So if you guys want to see that progress, head over to twitch.tv/datacenterdude. We'll throw some links in the comments or in the description of this video below. We stream every Friday at noon Eastern. So make sure you follow the channel there. We're going to try and start doing some streams throughout the week a little more frequently, maybe at different times, so we can cover different areas of the globe and bring everybody in. But my big hope of this whole thing is that it ends up on cloud.netapp.com and we get all the other vendors involved to come and build their logos inside of Cloud World, and we build a big amusement park around it. And it's all running on NKS, and it's all running in a microservice architecture and can handle thousands of users. That's like the end game that I'm hoping for. What do you think?
No, I'm fully bought in.
Yeah.
I mean, just as a funny side, it's these accidental projects that end up being something very significant.
Yeah.
And I was doing some reading recently about how Xbox Live was the start of Azure.
I can see that. I really can.
When they had that early surge of building data centers and the platform behind running Xbox Live, it was kind of like similar to what happened with Amazon.com.
I was going to say, if you guys don't know, what's the story behind AWS?
Yeah, so Amazon.com.
Books.
Yep, selling books.
What do you think they did with all those spare CPU cycles while they were doing a retail app to sell books?
That's it. They decided to resell it.
They started to resell them, and it eventually became AWS.
Yeah.
EC2.
Yeah, absolutely. So, it's these accidental projects that can sometimes turn into something big. So, us accidentally playing about with a big Minecraft server could become something fun.
You never know.
Another game.
Never know. Jason, why don't you take us home here? Let people know where they can find you, what your blog is, what your Twitter is, and all that stuff before we get out of here.
You can find me on the datacenterbrit.co.uk if that's my blog, at J.A. Benedicic on Twitter, and then just Jason Benedicic on LinkedIn.
Cool. Thank you very much. And dude, thank you for co-hosting the inaugural episode of the Insight Plus live stream, coming to you from the O2 Intercontinental here in London. We will be back later this year with more events. Make sure you are subscribed to youtube.com/NetApp. Make sure you are following twitch.tv/NetApp and all kinds of other good stuff as well along the way. My name is Nick Howell. Thank you very much for tuning in, and we will see you guys next time.
Thank you.
Take care.